everybody, and welcome to this next session of the FuturePrint Virtual Summit, where I am very happy to introduce you to Matthew Parker. Now, Matthew is a little bit unusual in the printing industry in that he is a poacher turned gamekeeper. After many years buying print, Matthew set up his own consultancy, and he was immediately approached by a number of printing companies asking him to share his secrets on how to get the best out of today's print buyers. Matthew now shares his buying experience, both good and bad, with the printing industry. And over his career, he has received sales approaches from no less than 1,400 printing companies. So that means he knows a thing or two about what works and what doesn't work. And everything that Matthew teaches comes from his own unique view as a commercial buyer of print at the coal face. Now, on to a little bit about this session before I hand over to Matthew. Look, everyone is saying that you should sell on social media, but how do you actually achieve results? It's not enough just to go on there and post things every single day. There's plenty of information on which buttons to press, but actually very little on the successful social media sales strategy, and almost nothing about how to do that specifically in the commercial print industry. It's very hard for people to know how to spend their time profitably once they have set up their LinkedIn accounts, and that is what this session will be all about. So Matthew, thank you very much for joining us for the FuturePrint Virtual Summit. It's great to have you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Brendan, and thank you for such a great introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with so many of you. I'm just going to share my slides with you now, and I'd like to start off today's session just by talking to you about a recent LinkedIn success that I had. So some of you may know that I write copy for printing companies, and I'm now working with a Canadian company to create some social media content for them. And the reason that this happened was because I met the person I'm working for on LinkedIn. I didn't know them before then. I would have had no chance of getting hold of them in another way because I simply didn't know they existed. It was only through the power of networking on LinkedIn where we connected with each other, we saw that we might be able to help each other, that we were able then to start working together as well. In a traditional sales environment, I wouldn't have dreamt of trying to approach Canadian companies because they would be outside my normal sales sphere. And the effort in trying to get hold of these companies and seeing if they'd even want to work with someone based in the UK would mean that the returns probably just wouldn't be worth me trying to phone companies or email companies. And yet here I am working with someone on the other side of the globe where we're able to help each other. That can be the power of LinkedIn. Now, you may think that this sort of success is actually a little unusual, but I hear about this happening all the time. I hear printing companies who are connecting with buyers in other countries whom they wouldn't be able to approach without an awful lot of expense and effort because they're using LinkedIn in a successful way. And let's remember that unfortunately at the moment, we're living in pandemic times. So where are your buyers? They're not in their traditional offices for most of the time at the moment. They're actually working at home. And it can be very hard in traditional sales methods to get hold of people when they are home-based. But through LinkedIn, it's much, much easier, particularly because people are home-based. They're not able to go to so many meetings. They're not able to travel so much. They are spending more time on LinkedIn. So if you're reaching out and being active on LinkedIn at the moment, the chances are you're going to have much more sales success, much more networking success than if you're going through traditional channels where, from all the information I'm receiving, people are really struggling at the moment. So in this afternoon's session, I'm going to go through 4 things for you. First of all, let's talk about the type of prospect that we can expect to meet on LinkedIn, because I think it's important that people understand the power of using LinkedIn as a prospecting tool. Next, I'm going to share with you the 4-stage process that I use when I go out and use LinkedIn to win new business. It's a simple process, but it's important that we understand it so we know what we're doing when we come on to work on LinkedIn. I'm going to share with you as well a couple of LinkedIn mistakes that I see being done very frequently that can actually harm people's success when they're using the platform, and can actually mean that people are less likely to engage with them and less likely to want to work with them in the future. And finally, I'm going to take you some action points so you can get going straight after this session, and share some resources with you as well, so that you can take things further if you want to. But let's dive right in and let's start talking about LinkedIn prospects. And I want to share with you a study that I did with a company. It's a large global company in the printing industry. They have a large sales team, and they put them through some LinkedIn training. And as a result of that LinkedIn training, the sales team started using LinkedIn far more in their sales process. And when the company looked back over the results that they'd had since they'd adopted this new way of working, they found some pretty impressive results. So the first one I want to share with you is 52%. 52% of their customers actually involved in LinkedIn at some point during the sales process. So they may have been checking out the salesperson, they may have been consuming some content that was shared on LinkedIn, they may have been contacted directly through a connection that was made on LinkedIn. But through half of their new business, LinkedIn was instrumental in helping win that business. And there's more good news as well, because I have another statistic for you here, 30%. This applies to 2 areas of LinkedIn. Where on this study, they found that first of all, that the prospects that they picked up on LinkedIn were 30% more likely to convert than the prospects that they approached through more traditional sales channels. And secondly, those prospects were also 30% quicker to convert. So their sales team was spending less time on each prospect if they found them on LinkedIn. The idea of LinkedIn for them was to create some warm prospects. And as we'll see when I share my 4-stage LinkedIn process with you, it isn't about actually winning the order on LinkedIn. It's more about making sure that you've got people who are happy to talk to you as a result of your work on LinkedIn. Imagine trying to approach someone on a cold call. Imagine sending out all those emails that we receive day in, day out, that most of us, if we see it's a sales email, we just delete it without reading it. It's very hard to get through on these traditional channels. And to be honest, I see a lot of salespeople who are like this, who are just inactive because, frankly, they're scared and they're worried about how they're going to get the results that are expected of them through traditional channels. But by working on LinkedIn, we can create warm prospects who are happy to receive our emails, who are happy to speak with us, and hopefully in the future will be happy to meet with us when the virus goes away. So let's talk about the LinkedIn process. And to get our results on LinkedIn, we need to think about the traditional sales process first. And when we talk about sales, we do talk about the sales funnel the whole time. So I've got one here for you. It's big, it's red, it's plastic, and it's shiny. And we all know that at the top of this sales funnel, we're going to put in all our sales activity. We're going to put in lots of leads, lots of conversations, lots of marketing activity. And out of the bottom, we hope we're going to have a steady drip of new business coming out. When it comes down to sales, actually, we can simplify the sales process. There's a lot of complicated training out there on sales, but we can make it a lot simpler. We can break sales down into 3 activities. All a salesperson really has to do is find prospects, engage those prospects so they're interested in talking to them, and then convert those prospects into new business. That's a very simple way of looking at sales, but it's what it boils down to. So how does LinkedIn fit in with this? Well, LinkedIn is really, really useful in the first 2 stages of this. You'll find that LinkedIn is a very good way to actually find some very focused lists of people who may be interested in your services. If you're looking for a particular type of business in a particular area, even on the free version of LinkedIn, you will be able to find the right prospects and go out and try and connect with them. LinkedIn is also a really powerful engagement tool, and I'll come to that in a moment as well, because you can be very efficient in staying front of mind with a lot of people. And as a result of that, you're in a great position to have prospects where you can then convert them into new customers. But that rarely happens on LinkedIn. Typically, you're going to have to take your engaged connection off LinkedIn and into real life. And you're going to have a phone conversation with them. You may be able to do it in a few emails, but typically a phone conversation, or in days gone by, a meeting with them. And that's when they become the customer. But they're willing to have this last stage of the sales process because you've done so much work initially on LinkedIn and you've made them into warm prospects before you take them off the platform. So how do we do that? Well, the two areas we have LinkedIn at this point is to find the right people. So a quick tip for you here is to make sure that you are using the advanced search on LinkedIn. And this is available even if you have a free account. But you can type in not just someone's name, but as you can see on my screen here, I've actually typed in the type of person that I'm looking for. So here I'm looking to go out and sell marketing lists to opticians. So I'm being very precise in what I'm doing. But as a result of that, I can then go down on people and use the filters to make some really focused searches. So I can search in areas, and then I can change my keywords. So when I did this search, I then found out that actually a lot of people describe themselves as optometrists instead. So I used that keyword as well. And I was coming out with a lot of people that I could connect with on LinkedIn. The other stage of this three-stage sales process is to make sure that we are engaging with people. And again, this is where LinkedIn is so powerful, because LinkedIn is not a one-to-one platform as we've been traditional in our sales. It's a one-to-many platform. So I have a network of thousands of connections on LinkedIn. I'm not suggesting you should necessarily have as large a network as I do, but I can reach out, and any of my connections who are on LinkedIn will see my activity. Because I'm active on LinkedIn, they will see me being active the whole time. So all I have to do of a morning is to create a quick update here on my homepage, start a post, give an update on what I'm doing, tell people about some of the successes that I've had, share useful information that they may be interested in reading, and occasionally sometimes talk about a product or a service that I offer. But I put that in my post, and there's ways that you can create your post to have maximum engagement. But I put that in my post regularly, and that way, as soon as someone comes on LinkedIn, because I'm so active compared to many other people, I have excellent chances of people seeing that post, and I stay front of mind with my network. Often, the people that I'm engaging with are not ready to work with me at the time that we connect. But over the months and even years to come, at some point, they'll realize that I'm able to help them. And because I've stayed front of mind with them, they are ready to work with me at that point. And it's the same for you as well. As you keep in touch with your network, keep in touch with that community, if you put the right information out there, stay engaged with people, sooner or later, people may wish to change their supplier. They may see the value in coming back to print if they haven't been using marketing with print before. You may have posted some information that they're really interested to learn more about. And often they will pick up the phone to you. I often find that people reach out to me on LinkedIn and message me before I teach them. And these are people who are often interested in talking with me and working with me further. It can be the same for you. So how does LinkedIn actually work? Because it's very easy for me to say all this, but actually you need a system to make sure that you are going to leverage the maximum impact from LinkedIn. So I have a 4-stage process which I go through every time I'm working on LinkedIn. And it's a process that's a very simple one, as you'll see, but it works well in terms of winning new business. So stage 1 is to stand out from other people. If you do a search on print sales or print consultant, you'll find that you have many thousands of competitors on LinkedIn. So your LinkedIn profile has to be excellent. It has to be different from the others. So many people have a job title of sales manager or sales manager at a printing company. That's not interesting to your potential target audience. Talk to people in your headline about what results you get for your customers, what type of customers you're looking for, or the specific services that you offer. Make sure that you've got great imagery on there. You've got a lot of real estate that you can use where you can put imagery up, not just a headshot, but a whole background that can tell people more about you, your products or services, or your company, and write more about you in an engaging way so that when people read your profile, they're interested to connect with you and find out more about you. So once you've done that bit, then you can move on to stage 2. There's no point in moving to the next stage until you have that powerful, engaging profile that's interesting to people. So stage 2 then is to look for people who you think might make great customers or business connections on LinkedIn and to connect with them. So I just talked to you a few minutes ago about how you can use the advanced search on the free version of LinkedIn to make some very specific searches to find exactly the right type of people for you to connect with. So reach out with them and start building your network. Number 3, engage with your network. Make sure that you are posting frequently. And there are ways to do this. You can automate some of your posting if you can't be at LinkedIn every day, but make sure that you're reaching out, posting good content, and just as importantly, with the people who you think are great prospects for you, make sure that you're engaging with their content, you're commenting on it, they see you being active out there and see you being an active part of their network. Because it's at that point that the conversations and the dialogues start happening, and you start moving from just having a social media connection to having someone who is potentially a powerful prospect. And at that point, you can move those prospects to stage 4, and that's where you take them off LinkedIn and into real life. So every week I will reach out to people in my network and suggest that we have a call to get to know each other better. I don't make it a sales call, but what I do is I make sure that I say we're going to get to know each other better. Maybe there's ways we can help each other. And from going on that call with a totally open mind, sometimes I meet some very interesting people. We're not going to work together, but I'm glad I have them in my network. Sometimes I meet some people and, to be honest, the fit isn't right, and we have a very quick call and decide that probably we're not going to carry on talking. And sometimes, more often than you would think, that conversation turns to ways in which how we can help each other and how we can work together. And I win business through that. So that's the 4-stage LinkedIn process that I go through to make sure that I have a steady stream of new prospects in my sales pipeline. LinkedIn for me is my most powerful driver of new business, with the exception of referral business. I'm not suggesting that LinkedIn should be your only source of sales, but for me, I've given up cold calling, I've given up cold emailing. I now work exclusively on LinkedIn and 1 or 2 other channels as well. Not everyone sees LinkedIn in this way. So some people, you have the warm prospects out there already, and I've taught you how to do this, and some people are not sure about this, that they're actually going to win business out there. And obviously, we won't be taking hands on business deals right at the moment, but I'm winning a lot of business through this. But a lot of people feel that LinkedIn probably isn't for them, and they have maybe some mental blocks on LinkedIn or some very fair objections as to why they might not be using LinkedIn. So let's deal with 3 of the most common objections that stop people from using this platform to its full power. And number 1 is time. People are worried that LinkedIn will just take up too much time. So first of all, remember that statistic I gave you at the beginning of the presentation, 30% faster conversion of prospects from those that are sourced on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn can actually help your time. But you can be active on LinkedIn for, I'm typically active for half an hour to 45 minutes a day, and that is driving me a lot of business. You don't have to be as active as me. A salesperson can win business on LinkedIn in less than 3 hours a week. So that's less than half a day, and it doesn't have to be 1 block of time either. Next, People are scared about managing LinkedIn and are worried that they have to be technical and they have to hook up lots of apps to get the right version, to get the best results from it. It doesn't have to be that way at all. I'm a very simple person. I have no IT skills whatsoever. But if you know what you're doing on LinkedIn and you follow that process, it's all about your engagement skills, not about your technical skills. LinkedIn is an easy platform to use. You don't need to hook it up to anything else unless you really want to. The only thing that I use in addition to LinkedIn is some simple scheduling software, and you don't even have to do that. And that brings me on to the third objection that I hear a lot of times about LinkedIn, and that is that it's going to be costly. You have to invest in a LinkedIn premium user license, that you have to have a full-time social media person at your workplace, and you have to invest a lot of money in content. You don't have to do any of that. It's easy to create some simple content, to share other people's content, to share what you're doing. You don't need a full-time social media person for this sort of activity. So you don't have to have a large spend to be on LinkedIn. I'm still using the free version of LinkedIn, even though I consider myself a LinkedIn power user. The biggest issue for people is, what do I do once I'm on the platform? But if you remember the 4-stage process that I've taken you through, then that will help you to go through that. I also see some people making big mistakes on LinkedIn, so I'm just going to share some of those now for you. And the first is being like this on LinkedIn. There are so many accounts where I see a complete lack of activity. And that's a real shame, because you're never going to get any results from LinkedIn if you're not active on it. So to get good results on LinkedIn, you've got to plan, you've got to show up regularly, and you've got to make sure that you are showing up, not necessarily daily, but certainly several times a week. The next thing for this is to make sure that you are actually posting content. So all you have to do is use your starter post. You can share photographs and videos here as well. You don't have to be a fantastic content creator. If there's some interesting articles that you found that will be of interest to your network and your audience, then please do share those. Everyone loves content being shared. Next, tell people what you're doing. Share some photos of great jobs if your client doesn't mind you sharing that. But inspire people with the print that you're doing. It doesn't have to be a long thought leadership piece in order to be shared on LinkedIn. Think also about your network size as well. How big should your network be? Make sure that you're building a network of the right people. I'm a great believer in having a fairly big network, because LinkedIn likes people with big networks. But if you just have a couple of hundred prospects that you've connected with on LinkedIn, then you will be able to engage with them to the right level. But to get there, you do have to connect with people in the right way. And this is, again, one of the big errors that I see people making on LinkedIn. They're not reaching out in the right way. So I get a lot of requests to connect with nothing there. And if you're reaching out to new prospects, send a personalized message at that point. Otherwise, I'm wondering, what's happening to you at this point? And when I've connected, carry on the dialogue. Again, I connect with so many people and nothing happens from their side. Whereas I will always send out a note thanking people for connecting and making sure that I've got some resources for them, asking if I can help them in any way. Some people even send out print to their connections after they've connected, and that's a really powerful way to stand out. Remember, this is the start of the dialogue that's going to create for you your warm prospects. People who are engaged with you on LinkedIn, who you can go out and you can have a call with afterwards, and will bring you business success because you have been able to go out and win clients through the 4-stage process. Remember the 30%. Prospects are 30% more likely to become customers if they've been sourced on LinkedIn, and they'll do that 30% quicker as well. So some good reasons to be doing this. I know a lot of people who are using LinkedIn powerfully to reach out to people now, and printing companies are reaching out to buyers, and buyers are very receptive on LinkedIn. I frequently come across people who wouldn't take my call, who ignore my emails, but then accept a connection request on LinkedIn and start talking to me. So if you're struggling to get hold of certain people that you would really like to become your customers, try connecting with them on LinkedIn. I hope that this has been a good overview to give you a sense of that process, why you should use LinkedIn, and get rid of maybe some of the objections, some of the errors that people do. I'm hoping you'd like to take things further. So it's time for action now, and I've got 4 things that I would like you to do. I've got 5 things I'd like to do. First of all, connect with me on LinkedIn, Matthew Parker. If you search for Matthew Parker Print, you will find me. Please do connect with me. You'll get a sense of what I'm doing there, learn from my activity, and hopefully I share some useful resources for people who want to learn more about LinkedIn and who also want to get some ideas about selling print in other ways as well. I've also got a free ebook for you. So if you'd like a copy of How to Use Social Media to Create Warm Prospects with my 10 social media rules, it's worth £19. It's yours for free. Go to the link I've gone here. Go to profitableprint.relationships.com. You will see links for the book. Download it, it's free. You'll also be subscribed to my newsletter list where I send out useful resources and hints and tips twice a week. Again, free, you can unsubscribe at any time. Even if you choose not to do those, some other things that you can do instead. First of all, have a look at your profile. Does it stand out, or is it the same as so many other people who are selling print? Next, set yourself some social media goals. Maybe say this week I'm going to connect with 10, 15 new possible prospects. I'm going to engage with 5 of those of my current prospects and comment on what they're doing on LinkedIn. But get engaged so that you can see a drip of people coming out as clients afterwards. Finally, reach out to one of your engaged connections. See if you can have that getting to know you call. See if you can start having a conversation with them that may lead to new business. I'm just going to finish up with one quick thing that one of my mentoring clients did, and I helped them set this up. And that was they reached out, they'd started a new job, and they didn't have the client contact details for some of their old clients. And some of their old clients were very old. They moved on to other jobs. This person didn't know where they were, but she found 20 old clients on LinkedIn. She reached out to all of them, and within 2 weeks, all had accepted her connection request, and she had 4 meetings and phone meetings set up already from that activity. That's not bad for what was half an hour's work to get back in touch with your clients. It's the sort of thing that you can do from LinkedIn and get those results quickly and easily. You don't need to be a social media thought leader or some expert to be able to do a simple exercise like that. I hope that's given you inspiration for using LinkedIn. Please do connect with me. You've got numerous ways you can connect with me on social media here. And I'm going to hand back now to Brendan so that he can just finish up this session. But thank you all for listening.
Great. Thank you so much, Matthew. That was a really insightful and stimulating session. And I'm sure that a lot of the delegates would have got a huge amount out of that and given them just some of those grounded facts and your own experiences, which is what you do so well, being from the coalface of our industry, about what it takes to actually go from point A, I don't do any social media and get nothing from it, to point B, I get a lot out of it and I do it every day. And I think just as a final anecdote to complement what Matthew has been saying, I went up and did a group session with one of our members, as I'm the chairman of the BAPC and general manager of the IPIA. And I just talked to them a little bit about social media. And what I explained was, imagine that there was a room you could go into at a conference, and in that room had every single possible contact that you want to do business with, every single big spender, every single important print buyer, they're all in that room. And you had the ability to send individual messages to those people, then go up and have a chat to them and develop relationships with them. Wouldn't that be an amazing conference room? Well, actually, it's called LinkedIn. So this exists. The ability to do this exists. It's there. It's not difficult. Matthew is a great example of someone who's got a tremendous amount out of harnessing social media for the print industry. And we are a trade association in the print industry, and we too have got a tremendous amount out of the social media for the print industry to actually end up driving print volumes. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much again. You've been explained how to connect with Matthew. If you go onto his speaker profile on the Future Print Virtual Summit website, you can also find out how to connect with him there and a little bit more about him. Otherwise, thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and we will see you on the next Virtual Summit session.